One of the things that I'm very passionate about is investing in young people's lives. But it takes more than me or Becca or Matt and Gina. And the studies show that when one or more people is involved in a teen's life, that's why they stay. So it takes input from each and every one of us. All right, so tonight we're going to hear from the teens that went to snow camp earlier this year, and that's my order, that's fine. We're going to hear from them and hear about their experience at snow camp. But before we do, I put together just a short 1-minute video of some of the pictures and slides that we took while we were there at snow camp. So Alex, if you've got that queued up.
Sacrifice that we can give to the Lord, the greatest offering that we can give to the Lord is ourselves. It's our whole selves, being all in. He wants nothing more than you. If you and I are going to share the message of the gospel with others, our actions only go so far. Our friends could see our actions and just think we're a really good person, and therefore just strive to be a really good person like us, and they could die someday and go to hell. Because really good actions don't save us. Only Jesus saves us. And we need to tell them the reason that our life is different, the reason that we have been changed, the reason that we have joy, and that is because of what Jesus Christ has done for us and what he can do for them.
Right, so without further ado, we are going to have our first teen come up. Lorelei, that's you.
Good evening. My name is Lorelei. This was my second time going to snow camp at the Word of Life College in New York, and I will be sharing some of what I learned there. My favorite lesson was our breakout session titled How to Share Your Story. Something that really stuck out to me that the guy had said was everyone has a story someone else needs to hear. This connects to one of the myths that he talked about, which is my story won't make a difference. I learned that whether or not you think your story is worth sharing, you should still share it, because you don't know what trials other people are going through. You don't know if your story is going to help people, but I learned that your story is God's plan to make a difference. And that no one's story is the same, but each one is important. Our story is God's story in us, and as followers of Jesus, we're called to spread the message of salvation and lead others to follow Jesus. Thank you.
All right, Owen.
So most of you probably know me. I'm Owen Clark, and this is my first year at snow camp. And let me tell you, it was a blast. It was awesome. But when I first went there, or when we were going, I was just thinking that mainly it was going to be just a way to get to know my friends in my youth group better. But as we went there, I realized that it was more than just that. It was a way to make new friends and a way to get to know new people, and also a way to grow in my faith and walk with Jesus. And one thing that most impacts me when I went there was pretty much the same thing as Lorelei's, that it doesn't matter if your story is, how should I say this, it doesn't matter if your story was that you got saved when you're in prison and it was some crazy impactful thing, or if you just got saved at a young age. No matter what your story is, God will use it to impact whoever needs it. And for me, that just hit me pretty hard, because one thing I struggle with is sharing my story, because I was saved at a pretty young age. I knew that God was real, and I was just like, my story doesn't really mean anything. I wasn't saved in prison. I wasn't some drug addict that, I don't know, that needed, I don't know, that, yeah, just stuff like that. But it was just, I guess the main thing is that everyone's story matters. And that was just something that really impacted me. But this wasn't on the list, though, but I have a few highlights of when we were there. One highlight that was awesome was the polar plunge. I almost felt like, to prove that I was a man, that I had to do a polar plunge. It was negative 12 degrees outside. And let me tell you, it was cold. Man. But it was awesome. It was totally worth it. And another highlight that was by far the best part of snow camp is a new kid that recently has joined the youth group. He's been here for a few times recently, and I think has come to our church here and then. Ashton. The best part is that he accepted Jesus Christ as his Savior there. And that was a humongous praise and was just awesome. And let me tell you, it was awesome. I loved it there. I'll definitely go again.
All right, Mila.
Hi, my name is Mila. This year was the second year I went to snow camp. The theme for snow camp this year was outsiders, because Christians are not called to fit into the world, but to be outsiders to it. My favorite lesson at snow camp this year was the Saturday morning lesson. The title of the message was How to Tell Your Story. I've heard messages on that topic before, but I still learn new things. First, I learned that God put you where you are because he knew you could share your story with the people you're around most. That could be your coworker, your friend, or even your teacher at school. Second, I learned that our testimony is our most valuable evangelism tool. This is because stories are interesting, have appeal, and fascinate the audience. Also, your story belongs to you and God alone, so no one can debate you on it. Lastly, I learned something from the myth, I don't have a story worth telling. I learned that if you have had your sins forgiven, then a miracle has happened to you. And if you have a miracle happen to you, that is definitely worth sharing. In conclusion, I learned that our testimony is important, powerful, and needs to be shared. Thank you for listening.
All right, Chase.
Hi, I'm Chase, and I just wanted to start by thanking everyone who donated and made baked goods for the auction to help. And it was an amazing time. And one thing I liked is while it was like a lot of fun, there was all kinds of fun stuff you could do. You also learned a lot about God. Like it was fun, but then it was like also serious when talking about God and stuff. And a lot of the counselors there, they were like open for us to talk to if we needed. Like if we wanted to talk to them, then they would be open. And I've not really been further than Portland, so it was pretty cool to get out of state. And that's something I won't forget either. And some of the fun things you could do, I like the tubing hill. That was pretty fun. And the rallies, you could just they would go on the stage and they'd call you up, and you could play games and stuff. But you could also did worship. And the tournaments also were really fun because it was a really good way to play different sports against other youth groups. And I played 3 different sports, so that was actually pretty fun to do. I also participated in the polar plunge, and that weekend was one of the coldest weekends of the year, so that was pretty wild. Something I took away from the experience and changed me in my walk with God is they let us choose. They would have 3 different stations we could go to about questions that we had, and I chose the one to learn how to get closer to God through devotions. And I spent more time at home now in my devotions for club and learn how to spend my prayer time. Another thing that I was able to take from it is, as someone who goes to public school, it was a really good opportunity for me to connect with other Christians my age. And studies show that 80% of people come to Christ through their friends. And another study shows that youth groups that utilize the gospel and encourages peer-to-peer sharing see 10 times more conversation about faith among friends. The help we receive from the dessert auction shows how much our church pours into their youth. And thank you to all of our youth pastors and for taking us down there and all that you do for us. And thank you for everyone who made it possible. It was a great time. I'll remember it for the rest of my life.
All right, Adriana?
Good evening. If you don't know, I'm Adriana Batchelder, and I'm here to share what I learned while I was at snow camp. The main topic that I pulled away was testimonies, like what the others were talking about. Testimonies, not really quite copying and pasting, but we all pulled from the same things. So I always thought that testifying was what the Lord did in your life that resulted in you being saved. I was saved at a young age, so I always thought that I had a basic testimony and it wasn't very important or interesting. But as I've gotten older, I've experienced what a trial truly is. And I've learned at snow camp that these trials proved my faithfulness, and this proof can be used as a testimony for the glory of God. The Lord uses what he has done whenever in your life as a testimony of his great love, not just on the mountain, but how he got you up onto that mountain. It's truly amazing what the Lord uses that you've been, I'm sorry. It's truly amazing what the Lord has used in your life for his glory. And I've also learned at snow camp that, so everybody has a testimony to share, because like what Mila said, everybody who is saved has had a miracle in their life, because they will go from one destination to another destination, from heaven to hell. They are going to go to hell if they are not saved, but then they go to heaven. That's all I have to share. Thank you.
All right, Kaylee.
Hi, my name is Kaylee, and this is my first year going to snow camp. It was incredible. The theme this year was outsiders, and I learned a lot. It started out with us learning about how the priest would sacrifice a burnt offering and would take the blood from the animal and sprinkle it on the mercy seat. They would take the animal outside of the camp to be burnt, the same way Jesus was taken outside the gate to be crucified. We learned that Jesus became an outsider for us, and when we become Christians, we are separated from the world, and we become outsiders too. We learned about the steps to telling others about Jesus. Step 1, start with your story. Step 2, go and tell, don't wait to be asked. Step 3, ask a question, listen, and answer gently. There are also 3 myths. Myth 1, I don't have a story worth sharing. This is wrong. Just because someone else's story is more dramatic does not make it better than your simple one. Yours might be easier for some people to understand. Myth number 2, my story won't make a difference. This is also wrong because Jesus uses a different story for different people. Everyone has a person or people that need your story. Your story will change their life. Myth number 3, I can't share unless someone asks me. This myth is also wrong because if nobody asks you, then somebody won't ever see Jesus. I learned a lot at snow camp, and I'm very grateful I got to go. I would definitely go again. Thank you.
All right. I have one final testimony from one of the campers that couldn't be here, is Grant Pomerleau. And he writes, Dear Church, I want to tell you about snow camp. It was really fun, and I had a great time there. There were so many things to do all weekend, like tubing with friends. We got in a giant tube and slid down the hill together, laughing so hard as we went incredibly fast. Tube racing too. We'd race each other, pushing to see who would win to the bottom. It was so exciting. I also played air hockey a bunch, which was fun to get to know my friends and compete with them. There were also competitive games that we played against other youth groups. Basketball was going on, dodgeball, soccer matches. All that stuff was happening all around. There was so much energy and laughs from everyone that was was that were doing their thing. My favorite thing, hands down, was the polar plunge. Seems to be a hit. I think freezing themselves to death at -12 was apparently a rush. Jumping into that super cold water, the splash when you land, the shock hitting your whole body right away. It felt awesome. I don't get cold easily. True, he met me outside, and he was barefoot, and it was -9 that morning. I don't get cold easily, so I loved it more than anything. The rush coming out and feeling super awake, shaking the water off. I wanted to do it again, twice. I kept thinking about getting back in line and jumping another time, but they would only let you go once. I guess that's how it is. That's okay, though. One plunge was still the best part by far. I think about it a lot, and I wish I could do it again right now. I've gone to snow camp twice. The first time was in 2025. That's when I became a Christian, for real this time. I grew up with Christianity all around at home. Church every week, prayers, Bible, but I didn't really share what I thought inside. I kept my questions quiet and didn't talk about it much with anyone. Snow camp helped change that. It was a big moment for me. I felt different afterwards, like something had shifted inside. The second time it felt different again, not exactly like the first, but still good in its own way. Every time I go, I come away feeling a little changed, like I've thought about things differently, or seen something in a new light. It still amazes me how these young people come together from different places. We hang out and do fun stuff like tubing and games, listen to the talks, take some notes. Just being there with everyone, it feels like you fit. I'm still trying to figure a lot of stuff out, like why I'm here, why God made me the way I am, with my thoughts and how I am. I don't have the answers yet, not even close. But one day, maybe I'll understand more. Growing up in a Christian house was nice. It gave me a good head start. Bit by bit, I can see how this is changing me. I'm really glad that he led me to this youth group. It's a place where I can keep asking my questions, keep learning more, and keep figuring things out at my pace. Snow camp is a good weekend. Tubing with friends, tube racing, air hockey, basketball, dodgeball, soccer, and especially the polar plunge if you like that kind of thrill. It gives you time to have fun and think about the bigger questions as well. If you're a teen, or you might know a teen who might enjoy it, it's definitely worth checking out. All right, and that's what Grant had to say. So first off, I want to just thank everybody that contributed to Snow Camp by way of bringing a dessert for our pie auction. That was absolutely incredible. I well overcharged everybody for everything that I sold, and for that I apologize, but I'm not really that sorry because of the impact that you guys had on these kids' lives. Every time that we've taken teens to Word of Life, it has resulted in one or more salvations and countless dedications. It's moments like these in the kids' lives that they can remember and that strengthen their faith going forward. I'm grateful that they were afforded the opportunity to go this year. I'm grateful for the fact that Ashton could go this year and find Jesus. What we're doing here is an investment in eternity. One of the things that I'm very passionate about is investing in young people's lives. But it takes more than me or Becca or Matt and Gina. And the studies show that when one or more people is involved in a teen's life, that's why they stay. So it takes input from each and every one of us. Teens are scary. I understand that. I've been doing this for 10 years. I have a fairly good grasp of what goes on. But if you get to know them, if you sit down, they're just little people. Sometimes not that little. Cody's taller than I am. He's up there somewhere. Yeah. but they really are good, and they just want to be understood. They just want to have somebody to ask questions to. And if you are an adult in your faith, you have a responsibility to share that with the generation that is coming after you. It doesn't matter if you're 25 or 65. You all have a role to play. And I would just encourage you, get to know a teenager. Find somebody that you think you could pour into and start pouring, because they'll appreciate it. They just want somebody to get to know them. And although the weekend is always exhausting, the teens come back absolutely finished. They have the best time ever. They get to hear good messages, like we heard. The end of the video I played in the beginning was one of the messages that they heard at snow camp. Like Owen and some of the others that shared tonight, I also thought that my testimony wasn't that great because I grew up in a Christian home and I got saved when I was young. But God can use your story to impact somebody else's life. God can use your story to impact a teen's life. You have something to share with everybody. And so I want to challenge you tonight to use the gifts that you've been given by God. Your story can impact somebody else's story.